Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Blind Spot podcast. My name is Mona,
Hi, and I'm Petra.
and today we're going to be reviewing the first episode of season 13 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, basically, the way we're going to structure this is we're going to go housewife by housewife, and we're going to start off with Kenya. So, basically, Kenya, this episode, it was her and Mark's drama. She went to go speak to the divorce attorney. And Petra, I'll let you start off with your notes on Kenya.
Okay, so before I actually get into the divorce stuff, I will be putting like little timestamps in the right hand corner to go
Mm-hmm.
with like the stuff we talked about, just in case y'all wanna join in too, or actually know the exact parts of the episode that we're referring to. So at the beginning of the episode, Kenya was talking about how Corona is like being a prisoner in your own home, and that just like irritated me because she lives in luxury, and clearly her being in her $1 million mansion is not like being a prisoner. So anyway, actually getting into the divorce oriented topics. So the first timestamp I have is when Kenya's in the car and she's talking to her friend. And it's very noticeable that Kenya has gained weight and she's depressed and she's feeling really stressed. So the first things that I talked about was the fact that Kenya's weight gain and like disposition are not actually due to quarantine at all. It's due to the fact that she's let a soul sucking demon into her life, which
And
is
also, I
AKA
think
Mark.
it's I think it's very telling that she's had this type of weight gain, depression, mental health decline, and they're not even in the same household. So I can't even
Right, exactly.
imagine what it would have been like had they been quarantined together.
Exactly. Bleeping mess, to be honest. Um, I just wanted to touch base on the fact that Kenya's character changes whenever she gets into a relationship, which is the reason why she keeps on having these, not married type of problems. Kenya, as we all know, is quick to cut a bitch off, quick to tell girls what they're doing wrong, and she's always very like I don't know, very domineering. But it seems that whenever she gets into a relationship, she becomes very submissive. And this is probably due to her understanding of, or her vision of marital life, which is very traditional in the sense of, the husband leads the house, the girl assists him and kind of stays in the background. So we see that with Mark. He's been disrespecting her, but she's so insistent on staying. And I think that's because she's putting this image of having a family, a husband, a child, being a housewife, being a mother, so high on a pedestal that she, is becoming blind to the maltreatment that she's enduring from Mark.
For sure. And I think also because she waited so long to have this quote unquote fairy tale ending with like the husband, the marriage, and the child, she doesn't want to let that go because she's like, okay, I'm pushing 50. So like I can't even start over at this point. I mean, she can, but I feel like in her mind she's like, this is it. I have to make this work.
Exactly. And she's doing what a lot of women that end up getting into relationships do, which is give way too much power to the husband or to the other spouse. I mean, of course, we're talking in terms of a heterosexual relationship, but giving too much power to the man, like in the sense of you let him control you, you let him make all the decisions. And because she continues to give Mark this power, she's the one that suffers the most. So, first things first, Kenya has to realize that she needs to keep her character consistent. The same way that she interacts with women, that she feels that she can be the boss of the group or whatever, she needs to also be able to bring into her marriage or her relationship. Not in
Mm-hmm.
the sense that she bosses around her husband, but in the sense that she is willing and able to speak up, to the
And
point
also, I
where
feel like I think the reason why she's so submissive with Mark is in her other relationships, like Matt and Walter, you can see she's more of that alpha woman. And so I think in her mind, she was like, oh, well, me being the alpha woman that I am didn't work in my past relationships. Like me being
Mhm.
submissive is what got me wiped. So I'm going to keep doing this. So I feel like
Right,
maybe that's
right.
part of the reason why.
That's true. That's true. She just needs to find a healthy balance because clearly it's not working. They only were together for 3 years and
No,
10
no,
months of
no.
separation.
They've been married 3 years, but they were together for 7 months before they got married. So most of their marriage anyway has been them. being separated, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, clearly it's not put together. And just to speak on Mark too, he does not care for Kenya. Like, even though, he's lashing out due to stress or work or Corona itself, it's never an excuse. So the fact that he's not able to, like, tune back or, like, even apologize for the way he treats her earlier in the day and stuff like that just shows that he's also given up on the relationship. Like, he does not want.
Everyone, welcome to the Blind Spot podcast. My name is Mona,
Hi, and I'm Petra.
and today we're going to be reviewing the first episode of season 13 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So basically, the way we're going to structure this is we're going to go housewife by housewife, and we're going to start off with Kenya. So basically, Kenya, this episode, it was her and Mark's drama. She went to go speak to the divorce attorney. And Petra, I'll let you start off with your notes on Kenya.
Okay, so before I actually get into the divorce stuff, I will be putting like little timestamps in the right hand corner to go
Mm-hmm.
with like the stuff we talked about, just in case y'all wanna join in too, or actually know the exact parts of the episode that we're referring to. So at the beginning of the episode, Kenya was talking about how Corona is like being a prisoner in your own home, and that just like irritated me because she lives in luxury, and clearly her being in her $1 million mansion is not like being a prisoner. So anyway, actually getting into the divorce oriented topics. So the first timestamp I have is when Kenya's in the car and she's talking to her friend. And it's very noticeable that Kenya has gained weight and she's depressed and she's feeling really stressed. So the first things that I talked about was the fact that Kenya's weight gain and like disposition are not actually due to quarantine at all. It's due to the fact that she's let a soul sucking demon into her life, which
And
is
also, I
AKA
think
Mom.
it's I think it's very telling that she's had this type of weight gain, depression, mental health decline, and they're not even in the same household. So I can't even
Right, exactly.
imagine what it would have been like had they been quarantined together.
Exactly. Bleeping mess, to be honest. Um, I just wanted to touch base on the fact that Kenya's character changes whenever she gets into a relationship, which is the reason why she keeps on having these, not married type of problems. Kenya, as we all know, is quick to cut a bitch off, quick to tell girls what they're doing wrong, and she's always very like I don't know, very domineering. But it seems that whenever she gets into a relationship, she becomes very submissive. And this is probably due to her understanding of, or her vision of marital life, which is very traditional in the sense of, the husband leads the house, the girl assists him and kind of stays in the background. So we see that with Mark. He's been disrespecting her, but she's so insistent on staying. And I think that's because she's putting this image of having a family, a husband, a child, being a housewife, being a mother, so high on a pedestal that she, is becoming blind to the maltreatment that she's enduring from Mark.
For sure. And I think also because she waited so long to have this quote unquote fairy tale ending with like the husband, the marriage, and the child, she doesn't want to let that go because she's like, okay, I'm pushing 50. So like I can't even start over at this point. I mean, she can, but I feel like in her mind she's like, this is it. I have to make this work.
Exactly. And she's doing what a lot of women that end up getting into relationships do, which is give way too much power to the husband or to the other spouse. I mean, of course, we're talking in terms of a heterosexual relationship, but giving too much power to the man, like in the sense of you let him control you, you let him make all the decisions. And because she continues to give Mark this power, she's the one that suffers the most. So, first things first, Kenya has to realize that she needs to keep her character consistent. The same way that she interacts with women, that she feels that she can be the boss of the group or whatever, she needs to also be able to bring into her marriage or her relationship. Not in
Mm-hmm.
the sense that she bosses around her husband, but in the sense that she is willing and able to speak up, to the
And
point
also, I
where
feel like I think the reason why she's so submissive with Mark is in her other relationships, like Matt and Walter, you can see she's more of that alpha woman. And so I think in her mind, she was like, oh, well, me being the alpha woman that I am didn't work in my past relationships. Like me being
Mhm.
submissive is what got me wiped. So I'm going to keep doing this. So I feel like
Right,
maybe that's
right.
part of the reason why.
That's true. That's true. She just needs to find a healthy balance because clearly it's not working. They only were together for 3 years and
No,
10
no,
months of
no.
separation.
They've been married 3 years, but they were together for 7 months before they got married. So most of their marriage anyway has been them being separated, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, clearly it's not put together. And just to speak on Mark too, he does not care for Kenya. Like, even though, he's lashing out due to stress or work or Corona itself, it's never an excuse. So the fact that he's not able to, like, tune back or, like, even apologize for the way he treats her earlier in the day and stuff like that just shows that he's also given up on the relationship. Like, he does not want to be there. He does not see Kenya one as his love or even as a friend, because even friendships, you don't treat your friend anyhow, or
Hmm.
even if you do, you always come back and apologize, or you guys reconvene and have a discussion about it. But he seems very hesitant and avoidant to dealing with Kenya.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of hard. I don't want to give Mark too much credit, but like he's not really on the show like that this season, so we don't get his perspective because we really only know
Right,
one side of their relationship, and there's honestly two sides. Well, three. There's his side, her side, and then the truth of what actually goes down. So,
right. But I mean, we've seen Mark on past seasons, as you've discussed, and you
just this
said,
last one, yeah.
Corona is not something, yeah, for his behavior, because he's always been a hothead type of
Hmm.
thing. So they're just not a match made in heaven, and Kenya didn't do enough investigation before she really decided to tie the knot with
Yeah, this is
Mark.
why I
Um,
don't understand why people get married if it's less than a year, even ideally less than 2 years. I feel like how can you date someone for 7 months and then get married and think it's gonna be all peaches and cream? Like it's not. You really didn't know this man.
I mean, I think it really depends on what your marriage was grounded in. Um, we're not a specifically religious channel, but I am religious, so I will speak on it. I feel like when you have God in the center of your marriage, you can have situations. And I mean, we've seen situations in which people have only been dating for 4 months, 5 months, and then they get married at, month seven. And, they're still together today or whatever the case. So I think it really depends on the grounds in which your relationship starts off with. I think for Kenya, maybe it was a little bit of infatuation. Mark clearly has something the other men don't, and that's what has allowed her to stay and to continue to stay in this relationship, because she's even, a little hesitant towards definitely divorce and even on separation. So I think for them they definitely should have dated longer. I don't think Kenya would have tied the knot had she spent more time with Mark. But then at the same time, maybe whatever this character quality that he has that is enthralling her so much, maybe she still would have. So I don't know. I don't know enough about Mark to speak on that completely. But let's segue into Miss Portia.
Okay, Portia. So my thoughts on Portia, her arc this episode basically, she went to Louisville to protest for Breonna Taylor, and then her and the other protesters did this demonstration, I guess you could call it, where they sat in front of the mayor's house and they were basically saying like, "Oh, this man has the power to arrest the cops who murdered Breonna Taylor and he won't do it." And so we see Portia then gets arrested along with the other prisoners. And then I think they were only in police custody for like that night. Don't quote me on that.
That was
It
just
was either
it.
1 or 2 nights. And then after she got out, and then she met Brianna's mother, which I actually really like that part. And then she basically gave her testimony about her growth as an activist. So my thoughts
Right.
on Portia, although I really respect what she did for the movement and how she showed empathy, I really think it was irresponsible for her to attend that specific protest and demonstration because you know this is an extremely dangerous position you're putting yourself in. These cops do not care about your life. You've seen that through Brianna. You could have easily ended up like her. I mean, not the same situation, obviously, but she could have ended up dead. And you have a young daughter at home. So I feel like, from a parent standpoint, she probably shouldn't have gone to that specific protest. But I still think
Mm,
that she showed character growth because, as we were talking before, I think it was like season 6, 7, she didn't even know what the Underground Railroad was. And so now I feel like she's matured as a woman, as a mother, and it's really refreshing to see because I really do like Portia.
I don't know how I feel about Portia in terms of the show's trajectory, but I do know in terms of her activism, I'm for it. There are celebrities doing a lot less. So for her to feel motivated and shaken enough to actually be part of the demonstrations or the protest, as you said, shows great character growth. Um, I also think, well, I saw different comments on Portia's supposed reasoning of being, the new pro-black queen, if you will. I think definitely her being a mother and also having a daughter definitely was enough to shake her. Because obviously Portia knows Black people have been dying by the hands of the government forever. So it's not, her having a newfound realization of like, oh, Black people die? What? It's the fact that, she now can place herself in that position of those grieving mothers that have lost, children due to police violence. So I think her having her daughter, and then on top of that, she mentioned Breonna Taylor. That's actually, one of the victims that she talked about. Just the mere fact that she was able to see that the police do not discriminate on race. Like, I have my own daughter, even just having a child would have been enough. But the fact that there is a girl as well, and I think it shook her to her core. So that is what has pushed, this activism. I don't know if her husband, I mean, I know her husband went to the protests. Maybe he
Well,
also had
not
something
her
to do with
husband,
it.
just her baby daddy.
Oh, LOL. Okay. Well, maybe her love interest has something to do with it as well. But I definitely think her being a mother, and everyone says this, like when you're a mother, you grow and change because children have such a huge impact on your life. A lot of it, which is, it's not even, you can't even put it into words. So I think her daughter is the main motivation for her activism. And me personally, I don't have an issue with how people came to support Black Lives Matter. I feel like as long as, while they are supporting Black Lives Matter, they're staying true to themselves and they're consistent. That's enough for me. So even if Portia had stumbled across Black Lives Matter in the same way of, how she had learned about the Underground Railroad, which is disturbing to say the least, it would have been enough for me if while joining the protest and the movement, she actually found a love for what she was doing. And this energy she was giving towards the movement was consistent. Because the number one thing I hate is bandwagoners. So, and obviously a bandwagoner wouldn't be consistent. You wouldn't see them
Hmm.
continuing to support the movement because they just did it for
And
clout.
also, I
So
feel
as
like
long as you're not,
if she was just doing this for clout or public attention, she wouldn't have literally put her life on the line and then sat in front of the governor's house. Like, she would have just gone to a little cute protest in Atlanta.
right. So the fact that she's doing the most just shows how much she is deeply affected and moved, and how much she actually really wants to give to the cause, which to
Hmm.
me is more than enough reason to support, as long as it's consistent, not for
Yeah.
show, not for a parade.
And then we have Miss Cynthia. So Cynthia's arc this episode was not that interesting, to be honest. Her and Mike were discussing their upcoming wedding, and they want this specific 10-10-20 date. And because of COVID at the time of filming, the Georgia mayor had just said no gatherings of 10. The Georgia mayor had said the cap of people you could have in a gathering was 10 people. And so for their wedding, they wanted 250, I think they said,
Yeah,
people.
250.
So that obviously wasn't going to work. And so basically, Cynthia was saying, oh, well, if I can't have my perfect wedding on 10-10-20, I'm fine with moving the date. And Mike really still wanted that date. And he was saying, why don't we just get married, just the two of us, on 10/10/20, and then have the ceremony later once COVID restrictions are lifted. And so I understand where Mike was coming from. I feel like it was a really reasonable and practical solution. Like, if they really want that date, then you should still get married on that date. The wedding can always come months later, and that way you even have more time to plan. So,
That's true. However, on this end, I saw Cynthia's reasoning. I think her intention, or the reason why she's so like intent on that wedding date or having, the full blown wedding, is because in the past she didn't necessarily have control over the other ones. So whether it was financial problems or her fiance not being as supportive to Cynthia, her relationship with Mike is the final one. Like, she does not want to do this again, so she wants everything to be perfect, and she wants to be able to live out the dream wedding. She even quoted in the episode to Mike, "You're my happily ever after." So that just goes to show why she was so hell-bent on doing it on 10/10 and having the amount of guests they wanted to have originally. um I feel like most women would probably do what she did, because obviously Cynthia knows, like, logistically she cannot have 250 people, especially with
mhm.
Corona, but she's just not in a place where she's ready to admit that. Like, she really wants this dream wedding, so even though she knows it won't probably come to fruition the way she wants, it's not going to stop her from at least expressing or acting as if she's still getting the wedding that she wants, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
But I think
um
also that Cynthia really wasn't seeing Mike's point of view. Okay, Cynthia wants the wedding, and then Mike wants to get married on that specific date. So I feel like you have to compromise. And the only way you can really do that is if, okay, let's have an intimate ceremony, just us on that date, and then have our wedding a few months later. So that way I feel like everyone would have won. I don't understand what the issue with Cynthia was.
But perhaps internally, Cynthia already feels like she's sacrificed. Like, in relationships past, she didn't get to do things her desired way.
But I
So
feel
I
like in
think,
any relationship, especially a marriage, you're going to have to sacrifice. Like, it's not going to be your way or the highway.
right, but this is a wedding, and men usually don't care about the wedding. So in Cynthia's mind, this was the place that she could have full control, because men, I mean, we see that with Mike. Mike literally quoted, he does not care about the wedding. He just cares about the fact that at the end of the night, he will be known as her husband. And most boys are like this, which is why they say the wedding is for the woman, the marriage is for the man. So I think because of those reasons, in the sense of Cynthia knows, Mike is not going to be all over planning this wedding. She had, fantasized that she could do things the way she wanted, and all the boxes would be checked off. So I think that's her motivation for not uh, why she was not so quick to say, "Oh yeah, yeah, good idea, babe, great alternative," even though she knows practically that will work.
But at the end of the day, she's still getting her wedding exactly the way she wants it, just on a different date.
But it's not, the way I saw the episode was that her issue was not only the date or whatever. Her issue was the full scale. She wants it to be the fairy tale wedding. Her issue was the guests, which is why when they did that cutaway and one of her girlfriends was saying, "Oh yeah, there's a new law, you can't have more than X amount of people," she said, "X amount of people, we have 250."
Hmm.
I think for her, she just wanted everyone, and she even said it herself, it's not just about having the family there in the intimate setting. She wants all her friends to be there too.
Hmm.
And of course, she has her close group of friends, and then she also has acquaintances. But she wants everyone to just, be able to experience the love that she's getting from Mike. And to her, that can only be seen, in terms of, actually people seeing it through the wedding. So I think it's not necessarily the date. It's the grandioseness of the wedding. She
But
wants to
couldn't
be
she
able to
still have
have,
that? And I feel like she was acting like Mike was saying, just cancel the wedding. He wasn't saying that. He was still listening to her and just offering, in my opinion, a better alternative. Because if you do have your wedding on that 10/10/20 date, like an actual wedding, you're going to have what? It's two of them, so they'd only have eight other people there. and that's clearly not what she wants. So I don't understand the disconnect.
Mm. I mean, I just feel like she just she is just stuck in a place where she just wants to put in the back of her mind that COVID is a thing. She had
Mm-hmm.
planned it 10, she had planned it 250 people, she had planned it grandiose. So even though she knows what Mike is saying is viable and is more sensible, she's just not in the space to be quick to agree. So
Yeah.
I think that's just what that scene was showing us. I mean, yeah, I think for her, it's just having everything going according to plan because in the past, she didn't have control over doing the wedding the way she truly wanted it to go down.
Mm.
And this was the year that, okay, I know me and Mike are getting married this year. We're going to check off all these boxes. And then when Corona hit, it made her feel like, oh my God, again, I'm losing control. Now it's due
Mm-hmm.
to something that isn't tangible. It's due to a whole pandemic. So that just, that's what's making her feel less likely to agree to Mike as quickly as maybe the viewers would want to. But I can see both sides. I mean, I also see Mike, what he said, because I think most men would internalize it as, oh, well, do you care more about the looks of this wedding or do you care about me?
Yeah,
Which
and
is
he did
essentially
say that.
because I mean I can see both ends because the marriage is for Cynthia and him, so
Mm-hmm.
all that matters is Cynthia and him. The other people are just background noise. So I could
That's true.
see why he also came off as, oh, like what are you really about? Like why can't you just get married with us? Am I not enough? Is
Mm-hmm.
directly what he had quoted. So yeah.
Okay. And lastly, we have Candy. And I feel like Candy's arc this episode really revolved around Riley. And Riley's getting ready to go off to NYU. Well, I think this was filmed probably before summertime, so she's not like about to leave right away, but they're trying to prepare for how they're going to pay her tuition. And first off, I just kind of found it comical how they were acting as if they're a regular middle class family where they have to think about tuition like that. Candy is a multimillionaire. She has several successful businesses. She's the highest paid on the show. So I don't know why it was such an issue about how they were going to pay for her tuition. And Riley brought up that she thinks that her dad, Block, should pay his back child support, which is around 100,000, and that should be used towards her tuition. And so basically Candy, Riley, and Todd were basically talking about Block and his relationship with Riley and all that stuff. So what did you feel about Candy and Riley's arc this episode?
Okay, well, first, just to go in, even though, Candy is not the average woman, we don't know their current financial situation. So I think maybe she brought up the tuition because they hadn't prepared to allocate a certain amount of money. Perhaps her businesses have taken a toll. So the money she's making is not to the level that it originally
Mm-hmm.
was. So I think her comment wasn't in the sense of, I mean, obviously she's not, a poor woman. Like it's not like she's dropped from the upper class or anything like that. But I just think, they now have to adjust their money accounts. And that was obviously something they weren't prepared for.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I could see that their finances could have taken a dive because of Corona and like they own restaurants. So, but I don't know. I just feel like she's still good. Like you're talking about how you're going to finance college while you're washing your Bentley that cost over $100,000. Like you're fine.
That's true. But maybe the money that she had reserved for other, like maybe the money that would go towards Riley's tuition in case of, a money dive was reserved for other things. So I don't know. Maybe it was just a means of, yes, we have the money, but I didn't want to use that money for this.
Mm, okay.
I had plans, like they had allocated their finances in different categories. So, I mean, overall, they're not financially struggling to the point where Riley now has to go to a different university. Um, so I do understand your point in the sense of like, it is like an eyebrow raise or like a, are you serious type of energy? Because yeah, they did say that right as they were filming or not filming, washing their six-figure car. So it is a little somehow like that is a year of Riley's tuition in front of you that you're washing.
Yeah.
Um, But I
And also,
also like,
Riley drives a Porsche.
yeah, I mean, that was what they were washing. They were washing her car. So, yeah, yeah. Okay, let me just segue out of that. And concerning the discussion they had on the deadbeat father Riley has, I understood where Riley was coming from. I think I mean, she's obviously matured since when she
Wait, can
first
we
was reconnecting with
pause?
her father with like,
I really have to pee. Hold on. I'm gonna pause the recording real quick. Can you hear me?
yeah, I don't know if it's paused. It's still flashing on my side.
Okay, let me pause it.
Sentiments with not wanting to rekindle with her dad because her father, just when he had the time to reconnect, the energy was not there. So now Riley's at a place where your energy was not I mean, your energy wasn't well received. You weren't serious. So me too, now I'm not going to extend that olive branch. And I think she, has the power to say that. That is her father and it is her decision. Um, whether or not to continue a relationship with him and at what time to continue a relationship. And that's also what Todd was echoing towards Candy when he, came out in the scene, which, Todd and his own children. But besides that, he was essentially trying to say, if you see that, Block is really about it, then by all means give him a second chance or, work towards it. If not, you don't owe him anything, which I completely agree. Her father didn't do anything for her except for make her emotionally tough, to be honest, which
Mm-hmm.
is, a lot. He helped her know how to decipher people she wants around in her life, which is a valuable life lesson.
But I
But in
feel like
terms of,
she could have learned that without the emotional trauma that he caused her. Like I,
oh yeah, by all means.
yeah.
But that is the thing that she gained from him.
Mm-hmm.
If anything was gained, it was that. Just like, oh, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. So in that instance, that was the thing that made her stronger. But because there wasn't any fatherly things gained in terms of like, oh, life lessons, learned from him, outside of like, deciphering people's personalities, she doesn't owe him anything. So um, I agree with her stance. If I was her, I also wouldn't be, arms up ready to receive my father. So, yeah.
And then I feel like, because earlier, I think it was 3 seasons ago, he had tried to come on the show and like rekindle their relationship. I don't want to say rekindle because there was no relationship to begin with, but I think he was trying to make up for lost time, but he didn't take accountability. He was always like, oh, Candy, you should have had her pick up the phone and call me. But he doesn't
Right.
realize like you're a parent, it's your job to keep up the relationship because this child did not ask to be here. If you bring someone into the world, it's your responsibility to make sure your relationship is what it should be. And you
Correct.
can't come in at the time, I think she's like 14 years later and think that she's going to be, oh, happy to see you, like yay, my dad.
Yeah.
No, you're essentially a stranger.
Right. Exactly. You just like you seeded her. That's it. You're
Yeah.
not a father. You're just a sperm donor. So, yeah,
And
I
I
understand.
do agree with Riley saying that he should pay the back child support to go towards her tuition because him and Candy had a court agreement that he would pay her child support. He just stopped paying out of nowhere. And so now you owe her like $100,000, I think it was. And you're going to have to cough up the money because you weren't doing what you should have been doing in the first place.
Exactly. And I mean, Candy even said it himself. He called her a bitch for asking for this money. So clearly, where's your urgency with truly being about your daughter? Like the fact that you're irritated over the money, which you knew was a court order, like something you had to pay. It's not like Candy just sprung it up on you. Just shows that he's not serious. Because if you can't even, handle the financial support, which is a lot less than what he actually should have been paying,
Mm-hmm.
being, a proper father, being present, he would have spent a lot more on Riley. So if you can't even handle the finances, like, how are you gonna handle emotional? Like, I'm so confused.
And also, I feel like if he had been the proper father that he should have been, there wouldn't have been a need to have a court appointed child support agreement because he would have
Yeah,
just
that's
done
true.
what he needed to do without the court. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
on
true. I
him.
mean, yeah, that was Candy's resort to him as you said, falling short of his expectations.
And also, lastly, I just want to touch on, I know Candy and Todd are opening a new steakhouse restaurant in Atlanta, and I just thought it was kind of odd. Um, I know they probably started construction and everything before COVID hit, but I think it's odd that they're continuing when they know we're in a whole pandemic. People aren't coming to restaurants like that, and small businesses, especially restaurants, have been taking nosedives. So I don't know if financially that's the best decision for them to continue with this restaurant. But
I mean, I think I would have done the same. Like I would have built my restaurant during COVID. No one says they're going to open it, but at least finish the structural process.
okay.
So that's how I saw it. Like, oh, okay, if this is the time that everyone's at home, this is the time that we should be able to get construction underway, the quickest, so to speak.
Okay.
So that's where I was seeing it. Not necessarily that they had planned to open it, a month after construction. Yeah, but if they have the money, of course, like if they didn't have the money, then by all means stop construction. But if you have the money,
Mm-hmm.
this would be the best time to finish building whatever you're building.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And my last closing comment is actually on Kenya. I forgot to say this before. And I know you don't care for Kenya. I have a soft spot for her. I don't know why.
Ew,
I just feel like she adds this entertainment value to the show.
ew.
Like you need someone who's just going to be messy, and that's
No,
Kenya.
ma'am.
And I actually like how she's an alpha woman. I mean, pre Mark, I liked how she was a strong alpha woman, even though sometimes she could get a bit disrespectful. But
A bit. Kenya is a
we,
bully bitch.
okay.
She's a bully. A bully. Like there's a difference between being entertainment and being sassy and being witty and being a bully. And I feel like what Kenya reminds me of? Kenya is basketball wives version of, or not basketball wives, Atlanta wives version of the Latina.
Oh, I don't
Ava.
watch Basketball Wives, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, those in the comments, if you watch Basketball Wives, you know the one I'm talking about. The one that was with Ocho Cinco, like that is her,
He
and I
was
don't like
married?
her. I don't know if they were. I
That's funny.
don't know if they were married, but they were something.
Hmm.
And she has a. I'm pretty sure she has a child by him. I think, or maybe not. I don't know. But they were together, and that is just how I remember her. And she acts the same way, like she is a bully. So I don't have a soft spot for Kenya. I saw on some discussion boards, people were like, "Oh, sucks to suck," and I kind of have that same sort of sentiment. Because Kenya was just so quick to come and infiltrate on other people's
Yeah,
relationships.
that's what I was getting to. I feel like prior seasons with her and Phaedra, her and Portia, her and Nene, and I think Candy and Cynthia, she's never gotten into it with them about their relationships, but Kenya is extremely opinionated, which is fine, but she takes her opinion and takes people's marriage downfalls and would kind of throw it in their faces. Like I know she said to Phaedra before, oh, well, you don't have a husband now. She also said to Portia, oh, you're Cordell's beard, blah, blah, blah. That's why you're not a wife anymore. And talked about Nene and Greg's cheating scandal. So I feel
Right.
like now that she's a wife and she's experienced marriage and knows exactly that it's no
How
walk in
tough
the
it can
park,
be.
yeah,
Right.
she's kind of, I don't want to say getting karma, but
I mean,
God
I
is,
think God was trying to
yeah,
say,
God is showing
continue in
her.
your mouth and I'll show you. And this is her
Yeah.
season of I'm being shown.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I feel sad in the sense of she's enduring abuse, verbal abuse, because no woman
Mm-hmm.
should ever have to separate themselves.
No
But
person
outside of the
at all.
way, exactly, outside of the way, her fiance or her husband is treating her, I don't feel any, like, I'm not feeling sorry for her. Like, there are no crocodile tears for this. How?
I mean,
So,
I do feel bad. I feel bad for her, but I also, I'm not like sobbing because I know what she's done to the other girls in
right,
other seasons. So it kind of puts me in a hard place. But
right,
um overall, I this was an okay episode. I feel like the first episode of seasons are never really that action packed. Like you just kind of have to
right, of
introduce what's
reality
going on,
shows, especially,
especially because
yeah.
of COVID and how like they were under production during this time. I feel like it wasn't going to be a huge drama filled premiere anyway. I'm excited for this season though.
I actually forgot to talk about something. This was at the intro when they were
Hmm.
doing the interview style confessionals.
Hmm.
They asked Portia about, her stance on Black Lives Matter and, the current political strife. They need to ask the producers and crew about their take as well. What annoys me is when these production companies,
Hmm.
mainly owned by white people, just ask Black people, oh, what do you think needs to change? Because it's not the oppressor's job to fix the issue. Or, like, what am I trying to say? It's not the oppressed,
Hmm.
not the people that are being oppressed, that it's like their job to fix the issue. It's the oppressor. So they need to have the producers also give their take on the current, like, political strife. Like, obviously they're not a political show, and obviously the camera crew and production are not like, they're not the wives, they're not the main focus.
Hmm.
However, I think they lost a moment for them to get other perspectives that aren't part of the minority community, and that just kind of irritated me because
I
it's
see
like,
your irritation with that, but I think also with reality shows, especially the Bravo Housewives shows, they don't like to break the fourth wall, so to speak.
mm,
So I feel like that was more of a production issue where like
our
they don't,
production choice.
yeah, and also like maybe these people don't necessarily want to be seen on camera for their privacy reasons because they're not stars of the show, they're just in the
Mm.
background. So I feel
But
like
couldn't they
that
just
could
have
be a
done like
reason to operate, not saying it's right, but they're like, oh, well, this doesn't really affect me, so I don't really know what to say. I feel like,
okay, yeah,
yeah, I
white
don't
man,
know.
that
And
is,
sometimes I'd rather them just not speak rather than say something ignorant.
oh, okay, and get into energy, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fair points. The last thing I'll say before we close it out is they did do a little snippet of the next episode, the promo. And who do we see back on her high horse, high throne? Miss Kenya. So this just goes back to support the claim that I'm saying. Kenya does not keep her character personality consistent. With women, she feels like, I am the supreme individual. I have this power to bully women, to call girls out on their stuff. But when it comes to men and relationships, this same energy is not portrayed. So that just annoyed me. And that just further goes to show that Kenya really is being submissive, consciously being submissive in this relationship with Mark and letting him continue to verbally abuse and subjugate her, because she was
Hmm.
right back to her one and twos in that promo. Like, it would have been different if she's being submissive because Mark has made her that way, and then that affects her interaction with the women to the point where, like, the women are
Either
like, oh
way,
my goodness.
I don't believe in the whole submissive wife, submissive person debate. I don't know. I just feel like a marriage or any type of relationship should be an equal partnership. But I do agree
Mm,
that Kenya doesn't keep the same energy
she
with
does
marriage.
not keep the same energy. And yeah, so that just goes to show that it's specifically a man issue that she's struggling with, that makes her behave the way she does, which thus makes her not have these long lasting relationships that she hopes to gain in order to fulfill that picture perfect
And
family ideal.
also, like I was saying before, she was more of an alpha woman in her past relationships, like with Matt and with Walter. I feel like she's had one more boyfriend, but I can't remember. But I feel like once she took a step back and took on the more submissive role with Mark, that's when she became a wife. So in her mind, she's like, oh, this is working for me. So why would I change and be that alpha woman that wasn't getting what she wanted before? But I feel like this whole submissive role isn't working for her either. So she really just needs to step back and I think she should leave Mark. I'm just going to say it. I
Oh
think she
yeah,
should
she could
divorce
have
him.
been just divorced him. Like, he owes nothing for her, he does nothing for her. So
But I feel like she's like, I took vows, relationships have ups and downs, but like
right.
the majority of the relationship has been a down. So, I mean, at least she got a daughter out of it.
Gosh. Okay, so tune in next time for our commentary on part 2 of the episode. Well, technically, episode 2 of the new season 13. And once again, I'm Petra.
And I'm Mona. This is the Blind Spot Podcast. And also, we will have our social medias linked down below if you guys want to message us, interact with us, Instagram, Petra. I don't think you have a Twitter,
No, I do not
but
partake.
Instagram, and then for me, Twitter. So, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
See you.